was a little bit of deja vu from our experience over the weekend, but the good news is we found Wi-Fi this week, and really, guys, I think that's all we need as we welcome you in to Tried and True, the DC United Postgame podcast presented by Heineken. DC United extending their painful road trip up in New England tonight, a 3-1 loss against the New England Revolution, despite taking the goal in the 10th minute. That was a goal by Paul Arriola. And actually, that's right. I'm getting corrected there at the end as I was setting things up. It was 3-2, Avila scoring late. But I'll welcome in Joshua Morgan and Michael Black tonight, guys. First of all, it's great to see you both again. Feels like it's been a minute since we've gotten to do this.
Yeah, it's been a little bit tough. I was with you in Nashville, John, and life and stuff has kept us all separate for a while. But yeah, I'm getting deja vu being back with you guys. Getting deja vu going up on the road in an NFL stadium and then losing despite scoring 2 goals. It's weird, but great to be back with you guys.
It is so great to be back doing the show. Obviously there's always challenges, but anytime we get to get on here and talk about it, it's always fun. I turned the game off after about 12 minutes. Did anything else happen?
I think that was a wrap. 3 points in the bag, feeling good coming into the weekend. And, oh, man, so much to talk about, though, in this game. And we have the press conference ready to go here live tonight. So I'm sure Zach will be cutting us off momentarily here as we start to get into to the meat of tonight's game. But wholesale changes to the roster from what we saw in Nashville kind of to kick things off, except for what was the most surprising to me. John Kempen got another start and goal.
It wasn't a disaster class like it was last week. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a disaster class on TV, but certainly sitting behind him, it looked pretty awful. And then tonight, I was almost ready to say he was doing good, and then that last goal was like maybe off his backside. But yeah, a tough one in Nashville for him. Was very surprised to see him get another start, especially with Stites. We know he's at least MLS backup level, and that's what we're playing right now, our backup goalkeeper. But it seemed like Kempen got the nod, and I don't know about you guys. I didn't fault him too much for the first 2. Maybe could have done better on the third one, but yeah, I was definitely surprised.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It was, certainly coming off of Nashville, I don't know if you necessarily look twice at his performance tonight if you don't come off of that, 5-goal shellacking that he took last weekend. It's interesting. You'll see how Hernan approaches it and how much rope he gives him. Because remember, Seitz was the backup to start the year, and he said, during immediate availability that, Kempen has earned the spot there, that he's, the guy who's going to be out there backing up Bill. So we'll see how much rope he gets. And again, I agree with you. First 2 goals, certainly not out of him. I do wonder if, again, when you have goals in transition like that, it's less organization from the keeper, making sure people are marking up and picking up who they need to pick up. But you do wonder if you miss some of that leadership and that voice back there, making sure that everyone is set up where they need to be, and just the confidence that your defense is handling what's coming at you. You saw a couple of moments of disorganization there, and New England definitely made us pay with 3 second-half goals there.
Yeah, I thought Kempen looked pretty good in the first half. It was kind of one of my notes. The first half was a totally different ball game than the second half, and we'll get into that a little bit here as we go. But I thought Kempen had a great first half, and joined in defense was Chris Aduya-Chim, who got his first start of 2021. Griffin Yao, the other name on the team sheet tonight, with their first start of the season. And I thought good games out of both of them until the very end. It looked like Chris started to run out of gas. But seeing this lineup going away to, pains me to say this, but league-leading New England, I wasn't expecting a whole lot, and that first half was glorious.
First half was a blast. I'm not sorry to cut you off, Joshua, but frankly, when you look at a first half like that, I think all of us had that feeling of we probably needed to get more than just a 1 goal out of it. Certainly you regret seeing Paul go off that early with injury, and hope he's nursing that and back to health real quickly. But there were plenty of opportunities where this team could have put 2-3 goals in, and frankly had the game well in hand by halftime. But with only a 1-goal lead, playing against the league leaders, a team that's shown they can score a lot of goals, I don't think we ever thought that one was going to be enough, and clearly it wasn't.
Yeah, it was tough. I was watching. I'm still technically in Virginia, but out of the market. So I was listening to the Revs broadcast, and even Charlie Davies was giving us props for how we came out and pressured, and we were really pushing for the goal. And then we got one and still kind of carried on. And then, yeah, the second half happened, and that was a different story.
Yeah, before we leave that first half, though, Michael, you mentioned some opportunities to score more goals. Felipe in the 16th minute had a great chance in on frame. He should have played the final pass. Speaking of Ted Lasso references with this team, he chose not to. Actually, probably could have done it on 2 separate touches.
Thanks for the patience, folks. Just another moment or two. Appreciate it.
And thanks for the update, Zach. But Felipe didn't miss shot there in the 16th. And also showing out in that first half, I thought Edison Flores had a great showing tonight. It almost looked like he was in command of the game there in that first half, creating chances and taking on a couple himself.
I think it was his best minutes in a DC United shirt. Definitely, probably his best 15 for sure. I know he's hit a couple set piece goals that were amazing for, they count, right? But that ball in the areola was what we were looking for, right? That's what we lost when our last number 10 left, and Flores is wearing the 10 now, and we haven't seen that ball until now, and he has been injured, and he has gone through incredible process with the whole COVID thing and a new coach, and then he got hurt this year, and so hopefully this is his first game back from a hamstring injury. Hopefully this is the Edison Flores that was promised.
Yeah, I like seeing Edison get the chance to play the 10. We've kind of had to move him around a couple of times. He's played on the wing. He's played the 10, but it hasn't really seemed comfortable. But in this game, it definitely looked like he understood the role he was being asked to play. He was the playmaker. You saw that come to fruition on that first goal where he takes the ball off New England defense at midfield and threads that ball through to Paul. A very difficult pass to make, and I was impressed throughout with Flores' first touch. You could see that the quality that we expected coming in and that we've seen all too rarely. So hopefully this is a chance for Edison to get off and really have a great wrap up into the second half of the season.
Yeah, and as we approached halftime, DC United go in 1-0, controlling most of the game. Changes were absolutely made by Bruce Arena. He brought in Buchanan, Buxa, and Emma Boateng, DC United legend, at halftime to really change things up. My question to you guys is: was there something you would have liked to have seen Losada do at halftime to either further lock down the control of the game that we had, or perhaps press the accelerator even further and get a second or third?
I think for me, it really depends on what his evaluation was going in. Obviously this was a lineup that was not a first choice lineup. It was great to see a lot of these guys get an opportunity to get out there, and who knows, some of these guys may end up being best 11 for us down the stretch. But it was definitely guys who hadn't been getting a lot of playing time and were getting a chance to slot in and show what they can do. So for me, I really would have to defer to your training staff looking at the numbers, saying, hey, these guys have accumulated a lot of minutes. You saw a guy like Gressel come on in the second half, who has been running himself to death basically every game this season. So if you're looking at it and saying that the load numbers are so high that you need to get another 15, 20 minutes out of your starters, again, at that point you're up 1-0. You're really controlling the game fairly well. I don't know if you need to make drastic subs there. Then once things start getting out of control there with that first 5 to 10 minutes of the second half, you saw the adjustments that they made. But I don't think that there was necessarily a halftime sub that had to come in.
Yeah, I was just looking through the bench and trying to see who on there would come in and shore things up. And there's like the only real defenders I can see are Julian Gressel, who's more of an attacking great, and he came on and they had a couple half chances. And then Tony Alfaro, who he's been hot and cold a little bit this season. And yeah, I don't know if he's the one to come in.
Had a
really
rough showing at the weekend.
And coming off an injury too.
True.
Yeah. So I don't think there was too much. I don't think this was a Bruce beat or non thing. I think that Rev's roster is just at a better place than ours right now, and they were able to utilize that.
Especially health-wise, and as I look forward to hearing from Hernan Losada here in just a few moments, I'll be interested to see sort of where he's at mentally right now. I mean, this was a game where he probably assumed New England was going to rest some players, assumed correctly. You jump out to that lead at halftime, you got to be talking about either stealing 3 points or at least getting one, and then to see those 3 players come on right at halftime, I mean, the immediate thought has got to be, New England's going for it, and like you said, 2 goals in 4 minutes, not too long after, I think 49 and 53, and they were both great goals by New England, you have to say. Losada forced into making a couple of changes, and I don't think either of those changes are necessarily going to impact sort of the rest that he hoped to get those players tonight. By the time those subs came on, the game was already, at least an hour in. But I'll be interested to see if did Losada get the rest he'd hoped out of this game, and how's the team handling a second straight defeat on the road after taking the lead?
Yeah. It'll be tough.
Go ahead.
Joshua.
Sure. I'll go for it.
Here on
yeah.
Go ahead, Joshua.
Something I'm curious about is whether the blame ends up falling on these defenders, because at some point you have to just excuse it that these are new guys rotating every game. Like, I need the midfielders to help them out or something. And the second goal comes off of a late run into the box, and that's got to be closed down by someone not in the back line, hopefully. And I don't know. You can't really blame Chris Odietza for a performance when he hasn't played for DC United hardly all the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, specifically the goal you're talking about, I took a note here. Felipe had the ball taken pretty much pedestrianly straight off his foot to create that chance. So I remember yelling out at the TV about, Felipe, what are you doing? And the next thing you know, they're in. So yeah, you're right. Midfield giveaway, a defensive midfield giveaway at that, setting a back line that's already on its last legs up to fail there at the end was tough. Michael?
No, I that's right on. I mean, I think Felipe generally had a solid game defending, aside from a few head-scratching moments there. Going forward, it was another story entirely. Seemed to be pushing a bit, and the whole team was down the stretch. It was a frustrating experience for us, because obviously, if you go into halftime, you have that 1-0 lead, you're up on the league leaders. Frankly, if you didn't tell anyone where the teams were on the table, you would not have said that going into halftime, that New England is running away with the table and running away with the league this year, and DC United's scrapping, trying to stay in contact. It was a frustrating evening all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And, DC United was on life support really from the 60th minute on. Massive save by Kempen after it appeared that the back line actually played a Revolution player on side there in the 66th minute. It was probably Kempen's best moment of the night. And then just 2 minutes later, Briant save off the line to kind of keep DC United in it. And then right after that, 3 minutes later, New England gets a second yellow card to Trustage. I can't pronounce that last name. And Joshua shaking his head. You got it?
No idea. No idea.
Yeah, I got nothing. New England player got a second yellow card. And, I saw something on Twitter, one of our friends tweeting out about, come on, score a goal. We're up a man. We can do this, right? Right? And always in the back of my mind, DC United just does not play well up a man. And they had a couple of chances tonight, but they also managed to ship a goal. What are your thoughts on sort of how the game played out at the end as we continue to wait for Hernan Losada?
Well, contrary to your opening, we did get that goal right at the at the death, which a little bit too late to do much about it. So credit to Avila for coming on and opening his DC United account with what frankly was a solid strike. It'll be interesting to see what we get out of him moving forward. But yeah, again, it's once you give up that third goal, that really erases the advantage of having an extra man out there. New England was not going to be seeking to send players forward. I think they took off Gustavo Goal up top to bring on another defender. At that point, they're just going to sit back and let you come at them. And while we got the one, again, way too late to make a difference.
Yeah, it's super frustrating to me. I can almost take the 5 goals at Nashville on the chin better because Kempin just had a shocker, right?
Yep.
The giving up a goal while up a man against it's almost unexcusable for me. And then it literally would have gotten us a point because he just absolutely smacks it. And you can talk about game states, whether that would have happened if the Revs are only up 2-1. It doesn't matter, but that it's so frustrating to me. You should not. It should always be an embarrassment to concede while up a man, just because, especially a goal like that where it was just bad defending, and you just eventually the Revs get a shot on target, and so that's what upsets me the most is giving up the goal. If it had been 2-1 and finished like that, then that would have sucked. But Revs would have bunkered and we wouldn't have. But giving up a goal when you're down a man is got to be frustrating, and it'll be interesting to see if Hernandez pressed about that.
Michael?
Oh, I think you're exactly right. You're exactly right. The actual shot, perhaps you understand that it was a guy in space at the top of the box and he took a shot well, but I had tried to blank out of my mind the build up to that. They had a long period of moving the ball around the box, passing around. Very much looked like they were the team that had the extra man, and then finally were able to put it in. But at no point did we really seem to shut down the attackers or find a way to really make it difficult for them even. And if you give a team with the quality that New England has shown this year that amount of time and that many chances to find an opening, they're going to find it, and DC United pay for it.
Yeah, and as we look around on this Soccer Wednesday, the Philadelphia Union just had a win at home. Jim Curtin's men moving forward, and it looks like Miami are on pace to steal a late winner. As Hernan Losada will join us now live. We'll head over there now.
Have some opening remarks.
Yes, hi Zach. It was another exciting game. Of course, for me, it's exciting and fun when you take points. But I think for the neutral supporter was a very good game, and to show this level, especially on the first half against the leader, not only in the East but the best team at the moment in all MLS. It's great. It makes me very proud. So I have to congratulate the guys, especially what they did on the first half was amazing. And we scored a very nice goal on a transition moment, on the right moment. We press them, we recover the ball, we go vertical. For the first time, we can play with both designated players on the field, but that was only 10 minutes. And well, you go to the halftime with the advantage of 1 goal when it could possibly be 2 or 3 goals. I know they also had chances, but on transition, we made wrong decisions. And I think at a certain moment, it's also about quality, because when you see the way they score and the quality on their transitions, and you compare with our transition moments, it's the difference is too big. But I would like to keep the positive. That is a lot. Playing on the road against the leader and having 19 shots with 9 shots on goal, more corners, more situations, more scoring opportunities, and well, going back with 0 goals, with 0 points it's hard. But we scored twice on the road today, twice on the road against Nashville, and well, I think We concede again too many goals, goals that you can predict, goals that you can do better. But in every situation when we or them score a goal, it's because of a foul, it's because of a mistake, it's because of bad defending. So like we could avoid our goals, probably they could also avoid their goals. And many different moments that could change the results with the 2-1 and being 11 against 10. I think Avila has two huge chances. We had also a huge transition moment with Jordi and Eddie, that Eddie shot in the middle of the goal instead of choosing a post. And on those moments, when you score, well, it's a totally different game. I even believe that we could go on the halftime with one more goal difference. But in general, it's hard. It's hard to get because I don't think we deserve to go back to DC with no points. And now it's a matter of do our best on the next two home games. We made some choices today in terms of saving some players for Saturday. I think New England did the same. It's very tough to play on the road when you only have 2 days in between games. And when your opponent, like New England today, got an extra free day to recover. But well, we need to try to put the 11 guys who are able to give intensity for 90 minutes and think about Atlanta.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to Steve Goff first.
Don, after you went up one man in the 72nd minute, did you feel like you were in a good position to at least get a point out of this? And does that leave you disappointed that, given that situation, you were not able to get at least that point?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When the other team score in transition, when you are one man up on the field, it's hard. And when you see the chances we had with the score 1-2, of course we were close to take a point. And even when you score the 2-2, I'm a coach who at that moment will go full for the 3 points. That's my mentality, and that's how I try to teach my players to play, to go always for more. And I'm sure that if we score that equalizer, we were pushing our team until the last second to go for the victory. But unfortunately, yeah, it's about scoring goals, and they were a lot more efficient. The people who came in the second half was on another level. Buchanan, Buxa, and even Boateng playing that fantastic assist. They came up with the right energy, with the right intensity, and well, they made the difference.
We'll go to Jason Anderson.
Hi, Hernan. Thanks for speaking with us. I wanted to ask, you mentioned how well the team played in the first half. It seemed like a lot of the chances were coming from the turnovers you were able to create, maybe by catching New England by surprise in the midfield and breaking out from there. Those chances, it seemed like you got fewer of them as the game went on. What did you see that changed after halftime that caused that to sort of play out like that?
The changes they made, probably. The players they have on the bench that usually are starting 11s, and they are definitely in another level. That's why they are first. So that was the main change, I guess, in efficiency and in transition and the quality on finishing the chances they have compared with the quality of the finishing of our chances.
We'll go to Alonso Contreras.
Thank you, Zach. ¿Cómo está, profesor? Una derrota que duele por lo bien que venía el equipo jugando los primeros 45 minutos. Pero se vio una dupla de Reina y Flores que creaba peligro constantemente. Y le quería preguntar cómo vio esa dupla y a la misma vez es que el viernes es la convocatoria de la selección y podría perder jugadores que le ha costado tener en el equipo de vuelta. Gracias.
A la dupla, bueno, sabemos que Eddie viene de una lesión de hace mucho tiempo. Para mí, que una dupla ande bien significa hacer goles y ser eficiente, y esto hoy nos faltó, así que obviamente dentro de las posibilidades creo que hicieron todo lo posible para aguantar la pelota, para generar contragolpes, pero creo que el hecho de haber perdido a Paul a los 10 minutos se sintió, y es un jugador que tiene otra energía, que tiene otra velocidad, y seguramente con él en cancha podríamos haber generado aún más de lo que generamos, pero bueno, espero que puedan seguir creciendo desde lo físico, desde lo colectivo, y bueno, con la convocatoria no sé, si se van sería una lástima porque no siento que estén ninguno de los dos al 100%, y sabemos también el riesgo que significa que vayan a la selección, donde bueno, tenemos malas experiencias con jugadores yendo a la selección, en este caso con los jugadores que fueron a la selección de Estados Unidos, que han regresado casi todos lesionados, así que esperemos que en caso de que sean convocados, que se cuiden y que puedan regresar al menos en las mismas condiciones en las que se fueron.
Coach, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's DC United's head coach Hernan Losada joining us here, and it sounds like in just a few moments we're going to be hearing from Felipe. So we'll get ready for that in just a second. But lots to talk through from what Hernan Losada had to say there. He's opened up a quite more optimistic tone than I thought, talking about scoring 2 goals in 2 consecutive games on the road. I'd like your thoughts on that, and also on the fact that he noted that it's the first time DC United has had both of their DPs on the field at the same time, even though it only lasted for about 10 minutes.
I was a little shocked, especially with the optimistic tone. I think, and this is just me speculating off of what I heard, I don't think he expected much from it. I mean, the guy literally has to walk around and see Bruce Arena's trophies everywhere, and I guess he's heard the myth, the legend that is Bruce Arena, and he sees the Revs on the top of the league. So maybe he just didn't expect much from this game. But yeah, I was expecting more of we let this one get away from us kind of tone, but he seemed encouraged that the team, almost shocked that the team was able to get one up and almost, outplay the Revs in the first half. And then, he wasn't too shaken up by the loss. It seemed he was okay with the Revs having better quality on the bench is something he cited.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Felipe.
Looks
All
like
set?
we're going to head back to Felipe.
That's all good.
All right, we'll go to Steve Goff first. Steve.
Felipe, thanks for your time. Given all the circumstances, this was going to be a very tough match for you, playing on short rest and against the best team in the league so far. But given all that, you were in a good position. It seemed you scored an early goal. You had a man advantage late. What is the level of disappointment after not getting a point out of this match?
No, I believe first half we are in control. We score a goal, and then obviously they have a couple of chances, but we are in a good position. We shift well. We are in a block. We are able to counter. Unfortunately, we couldn't score the second goal. And second half, I think individual mistakes, including mine on the second goal. They score in transition. I think. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it frozen?
Mm-hmm. We can hear though, Sam.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties here at the moment with the
Now
press
it's
conference.
frozen, if you can hear us.
Let's pull out of that one. We'll give them a chance to sort that out, and if we can go back to Felipe, we will. But Michael, I want to give you a chance to react to Hernan Losada's thoughts.
Yeah, I struggle with the observation saying, "Oh, well, this is the first time we had our 2 DPs on the field." Yes, that's true. That's certainly how it works, and we do tend to dwell on players' relative values and acquisition costs, and use the dollars to substitute in for the play. But at the same time, the entire season, Hernan's been telling us that it's all about the system that he wants to bring in and all about the style of play, and that's his goal, and that he's attempting to accomplish that. And it's not about what one person does; it's what everybody does, playing their role. Making sure that the press works, and so on and so forth. So then to start with an observation about the relative monetary value of the players out there kind of rings a bit disingenuous to me. These post-match availabilities are tough because you're coming off of what's an emotional 90 minutes you've built up for. And I think I agree with Joshua that if you had asked Hernan before the match, he wasn't really expecting to walk away with anything. At halftime, maybe you readjust that expectation. And I think we as fans were certainly thinking, hey, this is a chance for something really cool to happen here. But obviously it didn't work out. And again, I don't know if we're going to get a Felipe back or not, but I do appreciate his mea culpa on one of the second half goals. It's always nice to see a player stepping up and owning with the good and the bad.
Yeah, Felipe continued to endear himself to me, at least, because I was yelling at the TV for that, and he knew it was it was certainly not what he intended to do. But I was just as surprised, about Losada's reaction to this. But there's something that's been sticking with me the last couple of weeks in listening to these press conferences, is that Losada's kind of been telling us all season that his goal was to play his style by the end of this season. That's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to talk about playoffs. He didn't want to talk about any sort of expectations other than that. And, it wasn't necessarily what we wanted to hear at the beginning of the year, I don't think. And then especially after the first couple of weeks when they were flying pretty high, we were like, well, we could do this. And then we had a little bit of a lull, and then all of a sudden we just went on a nice, winning streak there, playing pretty well. Find ourselves in a playoff position right now. The question, I think, amongst a lot of the fans is like, well, why would playoffs not be the goal at this point in the season with where we're at? But I wonder if that's still where Losada's mind is, and that is still an attainable goal, very much so, by the end of the season, to have this side of players, which we've talked ad nauseum about, is probably not Losada's top choice MLS roster, right? Playing his style. If you get in the playoffs, great. But if next season you come out of the gate with your team ready to rock and roll, is that maybe more where he wants to be? And if that's where his mentality is right now, hey, maybe he is looking at the positives of it's 2 games in a row we scored 2 goals on the road without our top choice keeper, with a decimated back line. Maybe there is a silver lining in there. As much as I hate to ship 7, 8.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of points, and I was particularly. Look, we always got to preface. We get pretty nitpicky on this podcast. We're in the deeps. If you're watching this, you probably know everything about all the players that start on the field tonight. So, yes, Hernan Losada's done a great job, but I'm a little bit tired of the excuses kind of thing. I thought we would be out of the face, especially, John, as you said, after we came out of that lull and had a good stretch where we were climbing, shooting through the playoffs. And these 2 road losses kind of shaken up. But at the beginning of this game, when DC United went up, Charlie Davies said that this DC United team looks like they could beat anyone, and I don't think he was far off. They certainly can show up, and I think that will be especially true when we have a little bit more health in the squad, and maybe Abila goes on a run or whatever. But yeah, I'm a little bit peeved at the references to squad spending and they had an extra day of training and therefore that's
I'm over that. I'll tell you, I'm over that.
Maybe we were just spoiled with Benny because he knew all this stuff. That's the only stuff he's ever known, really. And Losada is still kind of growing used to those things. Hopefully, yeah. I think you're right. Maybe we get a little bit healthy. We go on a run. We stop caring about the excuses because we're winning again.
The MLS schedule makers are absolutely living rent free in Hernan Losada's head.
Yeah, I agree with that frustration. he does tend to talk quite a bit about the scheduling, and it's true that it's an unbalanced schedule. It's not a schedule where you're playing every weekend, and it's also a schedule like wait till you tell them that you don't play everyone twice, and
Yeah.
some people are traveling across the country, and some of those other elements that might pop up in a different year. So it does get tiring to hear those explanations offered up, but it is also useful to know where his head's at. Because if he's talking about the schedule, he's not talking about individual players. You've seen that he's very hesitant to criticize individual guys. So at that point, there's only so much you can talk about aside from saying, team did well, team did poorly. Like, there's only so much he's going to be able to talk about. So if that's the thing that's foremost on his mind, then I guess that is what's going to be. To your point, John, it's very clear that Losada's goal for the season is to get the team playing the way he wants it to play. I think all of us would like to see that and him go a step beyond, because that's a long-term goal. Like, it happens game by game. It happens, segment by segment of how the game is being played and how that ends up translating from his vision to the players. But you'd also like to see, in individual situations, in games where you go down one or games where you're up one, like you were today, see what kind of coaching adjustments he makes. And I'm not necessarily faulting him for coaching decisions on the day. I think New England showed that they were the best team in the league with their performance in the second half there. But the upshot of that long ramble is to say that I'd like to see Losada's individual game coaching ability on top of that, building a system out for the longer term.
Yeah, I mean, I think across the board, Sam's not here to point it out tonight, but I want to be very clear. We're all Team Losada, and we heard some folks this weekend at the game grumbling a little bit about Losada's choices against Nashville and wondering how things would be different if Olsen was still around, and I think at least I'm well past that. At the beginning of the year, it was easy to do kind of comparisons of what might Benny have done in this game versus Hernan, but looking at this point in the season, I'm thrilled with where Hernan has the team playing, and aside from Joshua, like you said, the little nitpicks on the show sometimes, I definitely think we're moving in the right direction, and I'm so excited to see a true off season where even if it's not tons of cash that's splashed, I hope it is, but I think between Lucy Rushton and Hernan Losada, even getting coffee, beers, some drinks several times this offseason, finding the right players to come into the system, they'll find a way to make it work on the budget we have. And next season, the expectations are going to be a lot higher than implementing the system.
And, talking about player acquisition, at the end of the day, the bottom line is going to rule out on those. But it does help if a player is evaluating different places where he might have offers. If you're playing a system that has fun, if you talk to the players and they say, yeah, he runs us to death, but we go out there and everyone knows the role they're supposed to play, and we have doing it. We score goals. It's always more fun when the team is playing well, but when the team is playing fun, that can translate as well into, particularly with some of those players that we expect DC United to be targeting. They're not going to be walking in and backing up the armored truck to roll in a record signing necessarily. In most cases, it's guys that are, may have options, or maybe veterans who are looking for more than just that paycheck. So there's value to what he's saying. I think I agree with you that critics of that are perhaps a bit too early, but we are halfway through a season, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even go as far to say that we don't need the big money signing. That I think we do need the depth. The depth is what's kind of been hurting us here in the middle of the season. And to the point that the 10 minutes that our two DPs were on the field together, they combined and scored a goal. So we have a left winger in Flores, a right winger in Areola, and a Golden Boot contender at strikers. So I don't know where someone would want to spend all this sort of money. I think there's questions for the midfield, but I think we got a good set of guys, and I think health and depth is where we need to move on. And we're way too far away from the off season to be talking about. I guess technically summer window just closed, so we had a chance there, but we're way too far from the offseason to be starting about wholesale changes. But yeah, I'm not mad, and I have high expectations for this last bit of the season too. I really think if we get healthy and keep playing the way we've been playing, and if, for the love of everything, someone finished one of Grussel's chances, I think we'd be on a great path.
Yeah, but before we leave tonight's game, we obviously have to select a man of the match. But I want to very quickly ask both of you. We talked a lot about depth. We've talked a lot about injuries. Is the combination of the injury crisis we're in for the 10th time this season, plus the lack of depth, is that the sole reason for the two collapses in the last two games?
Personally, I would say
No.
so. I would say so. I think, yes, this is what you wanted, John.
Exactly what I wanted.
I think so. I think because New England came out tonight with subs of their own, and they might be a better team right now. I think hands down that they are. We saw that last season, and we're seeing it again this season. They're on, as Black put it in our show doc, they're on pace to set a regular season points record. But they had people missing, and we had people missing. So I think quality amongst those pieces would have helped.
Michael?
Yeah, I mean, New England was missing Carlos Yield today, and he's a guy who has been tearing up the league as far as assists and key passes. He's leading by a wide margin in the key pass stat. But yeah, they've been generally healthy and have benefited from that. I don't think that these two games occurred like in the manner they did because of a lack of depth. You had two very different lineups out there. These things are going to happen when you play the system that Losada wants to play. You're going to be vulnerable in the counterattack. We saw, frankly, some better defending earlier in the season, but it's also these two games that we just had, versus Nashville and versus New England, are teams that are at the top of the standings in the Eastern Conference and are up there for a reason. And we talked about during that stretch, May through June and into early July, where you play Miami twice, you're playing Toronto. It's a different level when you're talking about playing the league leaders and a team like Nashville that I think is still top three in the conference as well. They're teams that when you give them opportunities, they're going to find a way to shove it down your throats. So again, I don't think it's necessarily a question of we weren't deep enough and therefore that cost us. I think it's really the team is still building into what they need to be and understanding that they're living on the edge of a knife when they're pressing up as high as they do, and you're going to have results that happen like this. Unfortunately, you have two in a row here and in frustrating fashion when you're up 1-0 in both games. But I'm also quite certain that the staff is going to sit down with the players and walk them through why it happened and hopefully come up with an answer, because we got a tough game coming up on Saturday too.
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier. My take on that really, really quickly, I think if Russell Canals and Bill Hamid were available and able to play in both games, we're looking at somewhere between 2 and 4 points instead of 0. But there's a lot to be desired in terms of depth and health on this roster. Tonight, man of the match, I get flack because I don't start this segment off enough, so I will go first tonight. And I'll give it to Edison Flores. I showed my hand early in the show. I thought, Joshua, as you said, it was probably his best performance in the black and red. He looked comfortable. He looked in command. Second half disappeared a little bit, and then I believe he was subbed off, if I remember correctly. But I'll verify that. But yeah, I thought it was a good start for Flores, and hopefully a sign of things to come moving forward.
Yeah, I think for me, I have a hard time going anywhere other than Edison as well. I thought, like we said, he had one of his best games, and it was really controlling the pace of play, controlling and being that playmaker, creating opportunities. Again, first half we should have scored several more goals, and a lot of that was from what Edison was doing. And you could even tell that he still wasn't quite back to 100%. Maybe physically he's there, but there's a lot that comes from getting game minutes and game awareness. And I was impressed with what I saw, and I think for me, I'm giving me hopeful man of the match. And a shout out to Abila for getting his account open with us, and hopefully that leads to many more things to come.
He came off in the 67th minute, by the way. Joshua?
Black, don't you have an issue with giving man of the match people who get subbed off? I don't know. I'll have to go back in the records there. For me, Fred Brouillon has saved probably more.
All
right. Fred Brouillon has probably saved as many goals as Joe Kippen in the past 2 games. I thought he was really good tonight. I don't know if he was man of the match worthy, but I thought I'd give him a shout. Yeah, it's Edison Flores for me as well.
You can't give it to a defendership in 8 goals in 2 games.
No, you can't. I don't know how many of those were on Brouillon. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I'm giving it to Edison Flores. We talked about a different player than what we've seen before, and I'm really excited to see, unfortunately, him without Paul now, but hopefully more of Flores as we go forward.
Hey, it might have been 11 without Fred, and we'd probably have 1 less on the board. Go ahead, Michael.
All in good fun. But I appreciate the observation there on Fred, because beginning of the season you're looking at hoping that Fred's not spending a whole lot of time on the field, and here we're playing 2 of the best teams in the conference, and injuries and whatnot has combined to put Fred out there, and he's been serviceable. I have a bigger problem with giving a player of the match to a defender when you're giving up 3 goals than I do about giving to a guy who gets subbed off. But looking at, again, we'll talk about the guys who played a full 90. Morris, Gundrich, Felipe, Birnbaum, Briant, Aduya, Chem, and Kempen. It's still Flores for me.
Yeah.
Well, as we look around the grounds tonight, Loudoun hosted Indy 11 on 7:03 night, which was awesome, and I probably would have driven out there if we didn't have this game tonight. $7 ticket, $3 beer and food situation, and they blew out the Indy 11 4-1. Goals have been coming for this team all season long. I think we've all watched our share of Loudoun, and finally to see it happen, it was a sight to see. I don't know if any of you had a chance to second screen it.
I'm at the Police house. Barely enough internet for one screen, John.
I was too busy watching our opponent for this weekend. Did not have the 3rd screen for Loudoun, so I apologize.
Well, they looked good. You can take my word for it. The Spirit are home against the Pride on Sunday. That's at Audi Field this weekend, the day after DC United take on the other United, Atlanta, on Saturday night at 8 p.m. And it's a big game. We thought Atlanta were potentially done and dusted early in the season, but a coaching change and a player who's been one of the best players in the league now put back in the lineup, being held out for reasons that escape me. Atlanta are back in business. What do you guys think for this weekend?
Joseph's definitely back. I saw on Twitter that he had tried a scorpion kick at some point in this game today. So he's feeling good about the hammy. It'll be interesting, and it's shaping up to be a good game. Everyone should definitely head out.
Yeah, this will be the first game for their new coach, Gonzalo Pineda, who is, again, a potential target for DC in the offseason. We'll see how that plays out. There's no secret that I watch a lot of Atlanta games, and they're a scary team. If Coach Losada is upset about the dollar value of our players out there, he is really going to be smarting a bit when you see players like Joseph and Barco and their new striker from Lyon, from Lille, Arahu out there. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to seeing the game, and it's always a blast when these 2 teams get together.
It'll give Losada more to talk to.
Too much,
No, go ahead, Joshua.
Yeah, you can't complain too much because we basically bought the entire scouting department, I think. And
That's right.
Brought them over here.
That's what I was gonna say. It'll give him and Rushton and the scouting department all just a list of things to talk to Levian about in the offseason.
And Yamil and Gressel.
That's right. What do we miss, guys?
Chris McCann as well.
Oh man, that is definitely not a player we've missed. Well, listen, thanks everyone for hanging out with us here on a Wednesday night. We appreciate it. It's fun doing this again. And we look forward to what I can only assume will be the morning after show on Sunday morning as we recap Atlanta United against DC United right here on Tried and True, the DC United post-game podcast presented by Heineken.